Hi, welcome to the channel. I am Ty the Reader Guy, and this is my first video. If you're joining me in early 2023 when this goes up, then thank you for joining me on the beginning of my journey. If it's later than that, well, I hope my videos have gotten better than this. Uh, Regardless, who am I? Well, I'm a writer, a musician, artist, wannabe philosopher, full-time hippie. The list goes on and on and on. Uh, I've been a reader since I was about 4 or 5 years old. I always asked for books when I was, for all the gifts for Christmas, birthdays, etc. Weird kid like that, but just always liked reading. Never hung tight to one particular genre. I just always skipped around. And that leads me to the mission of this channel. I want to explore sci-fi and fantasy, well, full on. I want to dive headfirst into it and see what I've been missing. I'm gonna rely on you beautiful watchers to help me out with that, give me suggestions, and, well, discuss these things as I read them and have some fun with it. Speaking of having some fun, I actually asked a few friends some questions that they would like to see answered, and I'm gonna jump into those right now. First up, I have what book I've read the most. Well, that would be Animal Farm by George Orwell. This book is amazing. I've read it when I was in middle school, I do believe. I got it from the library and just, well, devoured it. And I remember the old cartoon. It freaked me out, but I loved it as a kid as well. So, moving on to the second question. If I could interview any author on this channel, who would it be and why? Well, I actually have two. First would be Saul Williams, and the second would be Clint Smith. Both those individuals are amazing writers, and they deal with some heavy topics that I would love to sit there and pick their brain with. As well as Saul Williams is into a lot of the same things that I'm into: music, poetry, writing. So it would be really interesting to talk with him about those sort of things. What are 3 books that I've added to my TBR because of booktubers? Well, Liza Lockamore, believe Murphy Napier. It's the first one I heard talk about this one, and then it just spread like wildfire. Pretty much every booktuber I was watching, started talking about that. The second book would be Phased by Victoria Tekken, and I heard about this from, well, Tori from Tori Talks. She's the author. Great book, by the way. And the third one, which I haven't got to yet, but intend to, is The Way of a Dan by Dr. Fantasy himself, Philip Chase. I definitely look forward to reading that one. It's going to be one of the books I do after the Key Mark readathon that we're going through right now. Go Team Barbarians, Beanie Barbarians. Next one is what book I got me into reading. Well, it's a couple of them. One, author Shel Silverstein, excuse me. As any kid from the 80s and 90s would know, Shel Silverstein was a big part of our lives. And two, this is one from my actual childhood, The Big Golden Book of Dinosaurs. It's quite beat up and used, and everything in here is now false. So that's interesting, but as a kid, I loved it and just dove headfirst into the dinosaur stuff and had all the figures, and of course Jurassic Park came out at that time, and just loved the movie. Waited years and years and years until I read the book, but that was a good book as well. What are a few of my favorite books? Well, with sci-fi, I have read some of it. Starship Troopers, awesome book. Hated it when I first read it, but it stuck with me and kept popping up, popping up, popping up in my head. Couldn't stop thinking about it. Quickly became one of my favorites because I just kept going back to it. Another one, Ender's Game. Such a good book. The coming of age, the training, the twist that may or may not happen. No spoilers for a book that's what, over 40, 50 years old. Regardless, uh, Cannery Row by John Steinbeck is another one of my favorites. I just such a cozy read. And last but not least, on the favorites would be Little Women. I love this version of the book. But Little Women was actually a surprise for me. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but picked it up and just couldn't put it down. Moving on, Pete, you're a trip. If I was a plant, what would I be? Well, I'm a full-time hippie. I like to make people happy and relaxed and just feel good. So, sugarcane, we'll go with that. Also from Pete, how many cartwheels can I do in a row? None. I used to do cartwheels in what, elementary school, but since I became an adult, which is, well, I'm an adult. That's hard to say. But anyways, since I become an adult, yeah, haven't done cartwheels and doubt I can do them now. What book has emotionally damaged you the most? Where the Red Fern Grows. I read that in third grade. Yeah, they did that to us in third grade. Then made us watch the movie. Um, yeah, we still don't talk about that one much. It's, yeah. All right. Moving on. This one is a great question. Why can't pigs fly? And what would they do if they could? Well, pigs can't fly because they lost a bet to the chickens. When they lost a bet to the chickens, they gave up their wings to the chickens. That's why chickens don't fly that far. But what would they do if they could fly? Well, they'd lay some really tasty eggs. You ever wonder why ham and eggs go so well together? That's why. Uh, what book series did you try really hard to love but just couldn't? Or book or series did I love that excuse me, let's keep messing that one up. What book series did you try really hard to love but just couldn't? Divergent, I guess. I read the first two books and they were okay. The third book, so yeah, I'll go with that one. Am I a binge reader or do I like to break up the books to not get burnt out on them? If I go a couple days without reading anything, then I start to get a little twitchy. So I guess binge. If it's as far as genre goes, I do mix up the genres a bit to keep things interesting and not get stale on one genre. There's another good one. Why do we bake cookies but cook bacon? Same reason we drive on parkways and park on driveways. Number 13. Which book do you recommend to everybody? Why should everyone read the book? Well, James Baldwin, Go Tell It on the Mountain. Amazing book. Heavy hitting book, will challenge you a lot, but challenge you in a good way. So definitely pick up any James Baldwin in general. As far as science fiction fantasy goes, Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. That was a really good one. She's an awesome writer. And if you want something as far as horror goes, then Brom. Brom will definitely do it. Child Thief I've seen go around a little bit on YouTube, but he's got like 4 or 5 other books that are great as well. Krampus is very interesting. Which movie or TV show do you recommend to everybody? Why should everyone watch it? Ted Lasso. Um, why? Not only is it a good show and really funny show, but it's also a very wholesome show. In a world where you turn on the TV and it's all negative on the news, people going back and forth arguing, or the dark versions of certain things that we grew up with, and the happier things, then yeah, it's a breath of fresh air to turn on the TV and watch a show that actually is enjoyable and lighthearted and I mean, it does get heavy at certain points, but it's still a very wholesome and feel good show. Definitely love that one. And Secondhand Lions, as far as a movie goes, for the same reason. Very wholesome, awesome movie. You watch it, and you just feel good about it. And finally, number 15, what's one magical power that you desperately want? I would love the power of healing, not just myself, but others. I've seen so many people go through hell, not even, well, just physically and mentally. And I'd love to be able to reach out and be able to heal that and help people in that way. Uh, Flying, I wouldn't really want that. I'd probably get lost and, well, not really a big fan of heights. Invisibility, well, I like to see, and if I was invisible, light wouldn't retract or uh, light wouldn't refract off of my eyes, so I wouldn't be able to see. Uh, so yeah, I'll stick with the healing. I like to heal everybody. Just my bleeding heart, yeah, whatever. So, anyways, after this rough and exciting intro video, I hope you've stuck through it, and if so, then thank you so much. I hope you stick with me and enjoy the journey that I'm about to go on. And yeah, as some wise individuals once said, be excellent to each other.